All right, welcome back to the Starfighter podcast. We are here to talk episode 2, season 3 of The Mandalorian. Jake, how's it going?
It's going good. This last episode got me pumped up for the rest of the series. So glad
Yeah,
they're not
no,
taking it the direction I thought they were, where it was going to take 2-3 episodes to even get to Mandalore. So
I know.
stoked on that
I feel like there's so much to talk about here. There really is.
a lot.
Um, I think my opinions have kind of changed a little bit about where I think things could go. So I'm sure we'll get into that. We'll do a breakdown. I think right off the bat, I wanted to say, well, I'll save that actually in just a second. But yeah, guys, we appreciate you guys joining us, whether it's live or on the replay. Also, don't forget about our audio platforms. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast. Which, fun fact, that's actually where most of our audio listeners are playing our episodes, which is pretty cool.
Cool.
But yeah, you
Nice.
guys check us out there. Check us out on Google Podcasts as well, and give us a good rating. But yeah, hit that like button, subscribe, and most importantly, join the conversation in the live chat or again on the replay in the comments section. We want to hear how you enjoyed this episode, and we want to hear about your theories that you have. Um, all right, I think getting into it, Jake. I don't know about you, but I feel like they would have really benefited, and the audience would have really benefited if Disney had released this as like two parts. For from the very beginning, if they did 1 and 2 together, like they sometimes do. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, very lackluster like first part that leads into this pretty cool second episode. So it would have been.
But I feel like it would have made
Yep.
sense, like if they did them both together, because like they kind of just run together, like so well.
Yeah, it's pretty much back to back. Like at the end of the last episode, he goes and talks to Bo, and then right after that, he goes to Tatooine. And there's like not any time really between that. Like he just kind of leaves and goes, and then checks, and then just. So it would have been nice to see together, but it would have been long. It would have been like an hour and a half. I don't know if they wanted to get our hopes up for the rest of the season that was going to happen, but
Right.
yeah, definitely would have preferred it because it goes together seamlessly and it ends like on a bigger cliffhanger than the first episode. So
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I think we can kind of just get on into our breakdown. What do you think about the intro going back to Tatooine? And we get to see everyone's favorite character again. I think her name's Pelly. But what do you think of that?
yeah, she's a good time. She lost a tooth since the last time we saw her. So yeah, but yeah, I'm fine with her.
They
She's got
stayed
some.
true to canon. They stayed true to canon with that.
They do.
I think she falls on the ground and loses a tooth in Book of Boba.
Oh, does she? Okay, so that's already answered. Um, but yeah, no, I like her. She's got weird quirks, and she's always, she's a scam artist, a scammer. She likes to get her money out of people any way she can. So she's always a good time to be around. I enjoy her company. How about you, man? What'd you think?
She's okay. I think a lot of people would say she kind of takes you out of it, or like it. She can be a little bit jarring for the story, but I don't know. At this point, we've seen her so much. I think we kind of just expect her to pop up here and there, and it's not really that big a deal. I'm glad that she wasn't there for too long, and
Yeah.
I don't know. It's nice to see that she cares about Din and she cares about Grogu, so that's cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say she's not in it for a long time. Like he didn't sit there and they didn't talk for like 5 minutes. So I couldn't care less if she popped in and out. She's a fun character to have for sure.
Yeah, and then we obviously have to talk about R5, who we got to see before in I think last season, maybe even before that. I can't quite remember, but obviously he's a throwback to episode 4, and we can see he's still kind of a scaredy cat, even through this episode. But what do you think about him kind of joining our crew? Do you like that idea? Do you think he's going to stick around and we're not going to get IG 11 again?
Oof. That's tough. I'm sure they'll bring back IG-11, like in some way. Uh, just maybe like Mando needs him to fight with him or something to defend Grogu again, or help him like unite the Mandalorians together. Um, and I think it'd be interesting if they brought him back, just because we already know that the Mandalorian people don't trust droids at all since the Clone Wars and before that. Um, they had to deal with them often, and so it's almost like funny if there was two different factions, Bo and Mando, and then a droid, and then also a Jedi. That's pretty much like such a diverse group of people that could unite all of Mandalore. So that's something interesting that I think they might use. But I'm fine with R5. Fun fact: supposedly he's a Jedi droid in Legends. So he only blew up himself to get R2D2 to be able to go with Luke, because he knew that he had the plans. So that's the theory in Episode 4.
Oh, that's a fun theory.
But they also have a whole comic series with him, and he's like a force sensitive droid. It's hilarious. Stoked about it. I think it's interesting that they're doing it, but yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't really know the use that Mando's gonna have for him quite yet. He kind of seems like a useless droid, so we'll see.
Yeah, I don't want him to be just like, I don't want him to be stupid. You know what I mean? Like, I want him to be like useful. I want him to be somewhat smart and intelligent, like, and to be able to like help the crew out. You know what I mean? Like, I want him to serve a bigger purpose rather than just like, you know, a nod to the audience. The throwback. I want it to be more that. I want it to be more than that.
Yeah, I feel that. I don't know if they're just trying to sell out more toys or what, but R2D2 was always someone that got Anakin out of trouble all the time. So it'd be cool to see if there was another droid out there as brave and courageous as R2. So
yeah, it sort of makes sense that a droid like him would fit into, like, a astro mech would fit into, that ship too.
Yeah, I think R2 is with Anakin when he first blows up that stuff in Phantom Menace. So
yeah,
I mean, I think that's what it's originally intended for. So the fact that she said she has to make it, also kind of a scam, because it was probably already purposed for that. And so she's like, you have to charge you extra, but I'll give you half off, even though it was like probably 2 screws and a little platform or something, So
yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. I mean, she did say that he was part of the rebellion, so
Yeah, so moving forward a little bit, we finally do it. We finally go to Mandalore, and I thought this episode just looked really great too. Being like a huge fan of Clone Wars and Rebels, and like just like really enjoying like those episodes where they go to Mandalore and learning the history from those series. Like, I've just come to really appreciate Mandalore as a planet, and I think all of us have kind of just been, anticipating the moment that we get to finally go back and to see what it looks like. And I think we can definitely like sympathize with Bo-Katan in this episode, because her planet, her home world, like, it's all in ruins, and it meant so much to her. It meant so much to her family, because her family is like the heir to the throne. Like, they're that family lineage that is supposed to rule Mandalore and did rule Mandalore at once, and now to see everything just completely wiped out and crystallized from the gamma rays and stuff, like, definitely pretty sad. But I mean, just like the visuals look really great. Really good use, I think, of the volume, as well as like a balance of using the volume technology that they have with that studio, and then using the practical effects and like their the set pieces that they build. But Yeah, did you want to touch on any of this?
All right, I cut out for a little bit because my internet went to poop. Um,
Oh, sorry
so
about that.
were you talking about Bo-Katan showing up there, or were we still on Din?
Yeah, I was talking about just like the visuals of seeing Mandalore again, what it means for the audience to be able to finally see the planet, and then us sympathizing with Bo-Katan because her home world is now in ruins, and it's in a sad state.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we could touch on Bo in a little bit, I suppose, just because I think we're missing some juicy stuff. But yeah,
Right. Well,
let's.
let's start with like finally getting to Mandalore. What were your first thoughts in seeing the planet?
Oh my gosh, it was really cool visually to see. Yeah, I didn't expect it really to look that messed up with like those massive craters, and literally, like he said, I'm pretty sure he said that like everything is glass on the like surface from like all the bombing.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, I thought it was really well done. I enjoyed it a lot. All the crystals kind of popping up out of the ground too, like the green crystals, just showing that piece that Din Djarin had in the beginning of episode 1 was actually from like the surface of the planet. So, but yeah, I thought it was amazing. I thought it was really well done. Really cool visually too to see him coming through the clouds, like all the different shots they had of him flying in. Super
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
So
for sure. Yeah,
yeah,
like when he's finally entering the atmosphere, that looked really awesome.
yeah,
Uh, very realistic. And
hmm
so, we finally get to see him go on this journey, and he's trying to find the mines, which is, the episode, The Mines of Mandalore. He's trying to get down there so that he can bathe in the living waters, which is supposed to, atone for his sins, and he'll be able to be accepted back into the Children of the Watch, that faction of Mandalorians. So, um, you know, they make their way down there and they run into some trouble with these creatures. Um, why don't you talk to us a little bit about this? Your thoughts on these scenes?
yeah. I thought it was really. I think I had a hard time between knowing if like the creatures coming out were guys in suits or CGI. It kind of looked super practical to me, but then again, I said I'm really bad with CGI. But I thought it was like practical stuff that they did, so that was pretty cool. It's a new creature that we haven't seen yet, and Bo talks about it later when she's walking with Grogu, but
Yeah,
um, super cool. I thought it was interesting to see like how much he was struggling with the dark saber still, because he gets pushed around and knocked around trying to just fight his own style, and realizes like, oh, I have this dark saber, but it kind of gets him in trouble sometimes, so he pulls that out. He dices them up pretty good, but I think it's really cool how they're still showing that he's struggling with it. It didn't seem like he had like as much of trouble that he was having before. He still is having problems with it, obviously, but he was at least like fighting off 3 or 4 of these big creatures. Forgetting the name of them. I think they start with an A. I forget what they're called, Allens or something like that. I don't know, but yeah, I thought it was super cool. He almost gets kicked off a cliff a couple times, which was I was a little
yeah,
scared for until I realized he had a jetpack, and I was like, all right, he'd probably be fine though if he'd probably catch himself. But yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was really interesting, and also R5. He was just got pushed over, so he was fine.
yeah.
So
He didn't really show up for them at that moment. Hopefully, it'll be more useful later on. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to talk just a little bit more about the saber. We've touched on it before, but I think it's still, really an interesting topic because obviously he's dealing with something, larger than himself here whenever he goes to uh, wield the dark saber. And I mean, I think that you can kind of go in different directions with the theories about why that is. Um, I think it's just kind of like reasonable to conclude um, that there is an actual good amount of weight to it, but also, um, I think you've kind of talked about it before too. There's like a there's like a spiritual level to it as well, and kind of being, um, not necessarily one with the force, but one with the sword. And it's kind of like on a spiritual level, like maybe a little bit different than the force that we could see, because we're dealing like with their specific, religion and their background. So I think it's just really interesting conversation. I don't know if you wanted to add anything else to that.
Well, yeah, when I said like it seemed a little bit easier for him to like wield it this time, at least before it was almost impossible for him to pick up and got him in trouble. Whereas this time, like if he really needed to swing it, he could swing it. And I think that's because he finally is like he's definitely not yet like a complete person. He's still pretty divided internally, but at least in this scene, he's fighting with a purpose, and so he can wield it a little bit easier because he's like knows the direction that he's going. But I still don't think that he's fulfilling the purpose of the sword enough to let it like give itself over to him completely, because he's indecisive about what he's doing after this. He kind of still wants to go back to oh gosh, what's the other clan that he's part of with the armor?
He's part of the Children of the Watch.
Okay, yeah, I was just gonna call him the Watch, but yeah, the Children of the Watch. So, and I kind of told Dom about this a little bit beforehand. It seems like the Force doesn't really agree with them, and we can touch on that and when the scene comes up. But it doesn't seem like the Saber really wants to like kind of follow that path of Mandalore. So I think that he still needs to figure some things out and have like an internal peace about maybe not being in a singular clan and being more for the entire people. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I think we'll touch on it again in a little bit with Bo-Katan when she comes in. But I also wanted to say it kind of, I think, reminds us too of like the origins of Star Wars when it comes to like the inspiration from like the samurai, or just like other warriors, and stories about warriors wielding like whatever specific weapon. There's always this idea of um, becoming really familiar with your own weapon, kind of like becoming one with that weapon, and just like so comfortable with it. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
I think he just hasn't gotten to that level yet.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so if we fast forward just a little bit, obviously, they run into some trouble, and we get to, see this other kind of like android type of being, or cyborg type of being. Um, I think it really reminded me of General Grievous in many ways. And I thought it was really cool, seeing this creature and seeing like his one eye in the middle. Um, that was really cool, and definitely really like ominous and eerie. But he obviously, traps Din Djarin, and then Din Djarin takes, or he tells Grogu to, take the ship back and to get Bo-Katan for help. Did you want to talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, this is like a super super cool scene. Like I love the nostalgia that Star Wars does, with whatever R5 and little callbacks and throwing in background characters that we've seen before in other movies. But like this is an entirely new creature that we've never seen before, and they did it so well. And it was creepy as heck. Like that whole scene was dark and had this kind of horror vibe to it when he first finds the helmet and picks it up and it's a trap. It's a trap. And he gets kind of eaten up by this little robo spider thing. Um, so that was super cool. But yeah, I loved the design of it. And to me, it did remind me so much of General Grievous because it had some tubes coming from its body and kind of going into its head, right? So it kind of had like, and a kind of Anakin style too, where it was helping this body that maybe wasn't even a full body anymore. Because when you see the eye, it's actually like a left eye. It's not like a center eye. So it's super cool to see. Maybe this being got jacked up and then like put back together from something or put itself back together. I have no idea, but totally loved his like whole design. And totally creepy, you know. Grogu goes in and tries to get him off and save him, and then this thing comes back, and it kind of gave me also like a xenomorph vibe, like, you know, from Aliens. Aliens. So it kind of gave me that kind of vibe. Comes up, dude. It's like shooting at him. Yeah, and then he has to bounce out of there. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. I'm curious to know like where this thing came from. Was it damaged from like the war that happened? Maybe it was a Mandalore that got like exploded and put back together from like some mad scientist on the planet that we have no idea about.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's part of like the Empire's deal to like go on that planet and have something there. Like maybe they're mining something. I don't know. I mean, you could take it anywhere, but yeah, super cool to see. Love that whole scene. Freaky.
Yeah, and then did you want to talk a little bit about you know, meeting back up with Bo-Katan, having her join?
Yeah, for sure. So after this, you know, he's like, get out of here. And there's some other flying reptile thing chasing after Grogu. He gets in the ship, he bounces out of Mandalore and goes and sees Bo. And she first sees the ship coming in, it's really funny because she's like, all right, like I'm gonna get rid of this guy once and for all. And my mind immediately went to, dude, she's gonna shoot a freaking cannon at the ship and just blow it up and not even realize that Baby Yoda is just chilling there by himself. I thought he was a goner for sure. I didn't think there was gonna be any conversation. But she walks up and she's gonna say something and she realizes that it's just Baby Yoda. And it's cool to see like kind of how fast she changes in her head from being like wanting nothing to do with him, wanting like to just be left alone, to understanding like, okay, he's in trouble and he's on Mandalore. Like obviously like you could breathe, but he's in trouble, like something got him. So there must be life there. And so she kind of like snaps out of it. Because another thing that we maybe touched on, but not really last episode, was the fact that in season 2 of the show, she was basically saying like, there is no curse. Like that's all bogus. And then all of a sudden in this season, she kind of flipped and was like, yeah, it's cursed. Like I don't want to deal with it. And maybe that's just like an excuse, or maybe she finally is starting to believe it because it's been talked about her cursing the Mandalore for so long. But yeah, she just flips and it's like, okay, fine. Like I guess it's probably not cursed. I guess I could probably go there.
Yeah.
Super cool to see though, like how much she understands how important Grogu is to Din, and how if Din wasn't with Grogu, like he must be in some serious poo-poo because he's in deep. And so
Right.
she knows she needs to step up and kind of get that back together. So super cool. But what do you think?
I mean, I was gonna say hats off to Katie Sackhoff in this episode. I feel like this was one of her best performances, honestly. Um,
100%.
I mean, we got to see her in action a little bit, but I feel like we got possibly the most dialogue from her in this episode, and just like different interactions, like more interactions with Din. But it was cool to see like her interactions with Grogu too, and it started to just like really remind me of the Bo-Katan from Clone Wars, you know.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. Like again, we've mentioned it before, but it doesn't always happen, you know. Like Katie Sackhoff voices Bo-Katan in Clone Wars, but now she also gets to be Bo-Katan in live action, and that just, it doesn't always happen like that for actors or actresses. But I think that was like a really good choice, like one of the best things they could have done. And obviously she's a really good actress, and she has like good she has a good resume, you know. She has history with Battlestar Galactica and stuff like that. So
yeah,
super cool having her in Star Wars. And yeah, I think she did really great in this episode. I think one of my favorite parts is like when she asks Grogu, like, what are you looking at? I just thought it was kind of funny. Because it's like she probably has like a soft spot for him, but like but she's like still kind of like trying to be tough, like on the outside too. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, I think she's always had that like this hard exterior, but I think like they're kind of like breaking through her shell a little bit too, like, and I think for obvious reasons too, like, um, she's been through a lot in her history that I think has made her bitter, and she's had to be someone that's very strong and like fend for herself, and has just gone through a lot of stuff. But I think that she's finally like maybe opening up her heart a little bit. I think we see that possibly in this episode. I think that
yeah.
you and I might want to talk a little bit more about that.
Maybe some love in those eyes. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Possibly,
Let me open my
possibly.
window real quick, but you can continue with the stuff, and I'll jump in. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so great to see her back in Star Wars, back in this season, and I don't know if I would say that she steals the show, but possibly she might steal the show in this episode. I just think she did an incredible job, and I'm a big fan. And
Yeah.
then before we keep going, I'll just mention because we kind of have touched on it a little bit. I put out an episode um, Tuesday talking about the history of the Mandalorians. It's a shorter episode and doing a little breakdown of some of the factions. And the ones that I touch on are Death Watch, the Shadow Collective, and the Children of the Watch. Um, all of those have to do with the Clone Wars and Rebels series, but they also play a part in the Mandalorian show and in this new season. So you guys should definitely go check that out if you want. It's a shorter episode, and I honestly think that most people will really benefit from that shorter episode and be able to get some knowledge and something to take away with them that they'll be able to enjoy Mandalorian even more if you go and check that out. So go ahead and do that, and yeah,
Check it out.
Jake, if you want to keep going with the
Oh.
breakdown here.
Oh, well, it's up to your part that you love so much. So after she realizes all this fun stuff, she's like, all right, I got to get out of here and go help. And so, first of all, her ship, I forget the name of it, but we've seen it a couple times in cartoon series. And we also saw it, I think, in The Force Awakens, possibly as well. But, dude, that ship is epic. Way better than Din's ship. I just want to say it right now. Way better.
I love that. I love her ship.
But yeah, so they hop in.
That's a Lego set I need to add to my collection.
Oh, dude! And if it like moved to the wings, and it just
They do, I believe they do.
that's pretty sick.
Yeah.
But so they get in her ship, and this is the first time she's been back to Mandalore since everything happened. So she jumps in with Grogu, gets R5 in there, and takes off. Super cool. Same thing. How she re-enters the atmosphere. And her face when she first sees it. I don't know. I'll let you talk about it, but I will say one thing before you go off about like just visually how cool it was. I didn't want to mention it before, but in this scene when she comes in, her ship, when they gave it the visual like on the ship view, you could see the front wings kind of fluttering a little bit, like the resistance of the wind is kind of moving them, which we never really get to see, but that's like something that happens all the time in aircraft and super realistic. I thought that was just a cool little thing they put in there to kind of make it visually even more realistic. But yeah, so did you want to touch on this scene when she first arrives? Or
Yeah, I guess I might be repeating myself just a little bit here, but it just goes back to her history and her background. Um, it Mandalore is in like a really sad state and has been for a while now since the purge. There's been so much, and we can also see from this episode with her dialogue with Din Djarin, she's carrying, I think, the burden of everything that has gone on, and she's carrying that weight on her shoulders that she's just been through a lot, and I think she's holding on to a lot of resentment too with how everything went down. She talks to Din Djarin about how later on she talks to him about how she's basically disgusted about how the Mandalorians couldn't come together. They ended up fighting one another, because they couldn't come to agreement. They couldn't like truly be united. Which I think at some point in our story here in our show that we will see true unity amongst the Mandalorians. So I think like that's kind of like an end goal for the show. But yeah, so that's always bothered her. And again, like with the different factions, and whether it was like her sister Satine, who was the Duchess, like obviously like she had her own views of how things should run and everything. But um I think when she sees her planet and like the state that it's in now, like all of these memories and feelings, like no doubt are like so much more real. And so I think a lot is going on like in her mind, like mentally and emotionally, when she like is coming into the atmosphere and seeing everything for the first time, um, and just like walking through the ruins too.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, it almost. I got like kind of like a mixed emotion from her. Almost like there was almost like a slight happiness of being back home. Kind of realizing that she can go back. Like the planet isn't probably completely destroyed if Mando's there and is breathing fine. So
Yeah.
and it seemed like she was almost like relieved. Like she almost didn't believe that it was even gonna be there when she came through the clouds. Like she was like, okay, it's like still here, like it's jacked up, but we still have like a planet like for our people if we want it, kind of thing in her head. Kind of just like pulling her back out of that denial of like not wanting to lead or having anything to do with it. It seemed like she feels guilty for sure and sad, but it seems like it's kind of pulling her back in. That's kind of what I got from when she first comes in. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a I'm not a reader of bodies, so
But then, yeah, we can talk next about how she, finds those same creatures, um, and also, she's trying to rescue Din Djarin too from this other creature, this Grievous type creature.
mhm.
And we see like the contrast here with when she, shoots her grapple hook and grabs the sword, and like when she's wielding the dark saber, we see the contrast. Um, she's had years of experience with the saber. She's had real training. um she we see that we see how she's comfortable with it. She's fluent with how she uses the dark saber. And yeah, it's honestly like awesome to see. Like she tore that guy up.
Yeah, she really did. It was a massacre of limbs for sure. Just cut that bad boy up. But I'm okay. I'm gonna ship him. I don't care. But I want to get into it a little bit because when she first gets in there, before all that other stuff, and goes and tries to rescue Din, um,
She seems really concerned. Like, is that?
she. I wasn't gonna say that she seemed concerned, but it was like when she turns around after she pummels those other monsters, whatever, in the cave when she first gets in there,
Mhm.
and Baby Yoda's kind of like a little bit surprised, and she's like, "What? You thought your dad was basically like the only one that was Mandalorian?" It kind of looked like Baby Yoda said like, "Oh, I want you to be my mother," kind of thing, you know? Like Baby Yoda was shipping them a little bit. He's like, okay. He's like, so Baby Yoda kind of fell in love with her a little bit after seeing like how good of a protector that she was. Um, and I think she did
Okay.
too. Like I think she's like a complete protector. That's just kind of who she is. She wants to
Yeah.
protect her people. She wants to do that. So, but like you said, she's still like kind of cold hearted. She makes a comment towards him like, "What are you looking at later?" But
Yeah.
I think that's just because she knows that he can feel that she's like cares about him a little bit.
Mhm.
Like, so she's like pushed, like I'm like kind of in denial.
Yeah.
Um,
Like
so
don't get too attached. You know.
yeah, yeah, but and I think it was just sweet. I mean, she was like telling him stories about her history and stuff like that, and it was like cool. Like all the viewers kind of know what's going on and what her backstory is. Hopefully, I would say a majority of people know. Um, but just to her to repeat it and like tell, Grogu everything, it was really brought tears to my eyes, So I think there could be a Mama Mando coming in soon, but we'll see.
Mama Mando.
We'll
Hashtag.
see.
Yeah.
Dude, she looks good in that suit. I'll say that much. She can work that suit. She looks perfect in that suit. Honestly, she like looks so much like Bo-Katan. So
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah,
but
she is that character through and through.
yeah, 100%. And I honestly didn't really like her until
Like
this
at
episode. Yeah,
first, or like even in Clone Wars.
I was cool with her in Clone Wars, but like this new Bo-Katan, I was like, I'm not feeling you right now. And after this episode, I'm like, okay, I can get down with you. Like I can see where you're coming from, and I know why you are the way you are. But there was cracks in the shield for sure, and I was like, I need more of that Bo-Katan, like the one that's a fighter, the one that fights for her people, like is a protector.
Yeah.
Because multiple times, I mean, she saves Din twice. We'll get to, but yeah. Goes, saves him, and she wouldn't do that if she didn't care about Grogu or Din. So, but I'm shipping them. Not Grogu and Bo, but Bo and Din Djarin.
Right.
Just to clarify.
But also shipping the family,
Yeah, no, great family unit.
Yeah.
Great family unit.
I would like that. I think that'd be cool to see.
I mean, it's like uniting the houses. If they get married, they're like, oh shoot, okay, like
yeah. Two different factions and the Jedi as well. Yeah. That was cool too. She brought that up as well. Like it wasn't always that way. At one point the Jedi and the Mandalorians fought side by side, and I don't know how much that's talked about in new canon, but that concept I know is from Legends, and we're seeing that a little bit more and more here with our show. And so like for like the really old school Star Wars fans like that know their Legends material really well, I mean it's just awesome to see like that there is source material to pull from, despite what Kathy wants to say sometimes. That was so stupid when she said that.
Wait, who? What?
Kathleen Kennedy, like a year or two ago, she said that there wasn't much source material to use for like new stuff in Star Wars, like, and there's so much like all the Timothy Zahn books and like the different like older like Dark Horse comics and stuff like that. There's so much, and so, but yeah, I mean, having people like Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni who are massive Star Wars fans and know all these things, like they understand the source material and they're like sprinkling it in there.
Yeah,
it's awesome, and we get to see it towards the end of this episode. We won't jump there just yet, but we get to see this in the last scene. We'll get there in a little bit. But did you want to talk any more about her saving Din and whatever's next?
Oh yeah, for sure. I thought it was cool. It was cool to see. We all know that she had the Darksaber at one point, so seeing her wield it, and then, I mean, I guess I'm not too surprised that Din Djarin like didn't care that she picked it up and used it, and she gave it back immediately. When he wakes up, it's laying right next to him. So, because she knows that she can't just take it, although she could just kill him with it when he's sleeping, and I guess that's same thing, but I don't know. I don't know how the saber works, but it's super interesting to see like how well she is balanced with it, and I think that's because like she's not really fighting with her. She is, but she like in her hearts of hearts wants to be a leader of Mandalore, and I was gonna.
Oh, that's interesting too. Like it's an internal struggle too.
So that's like what I almost feel like the Darksaber doesn't care your intentions of leading, but it needs to be in the hands of a leader, and we know that Din doesn't want to lead like at all, so maybe that could be what's going on. But she's like a leader in her hearts of hearts and wants to lead, so it kind of gravitates towards her more and is lighter for her because it knows that like it's going to be wielded by the person that's probably going to lead, if that makes any sense, rather than
and it's like it kind of goes back to both of their stories too. Like she in a way she was born to lead. Like she She was born to lead her people, and Din has been a loner like all his life. You know,
Yeah.
his parents were killed when he was a kid. Um, he's kind of always been on his own, even though he was adopted into, um, the Mandalorian society. Like he's still kind of just been on his own. Um, and yeah, I think that's still in some ways. I think he still kind of desires to be alone. I think that that's only changed to an extent because of Grogu. He's now in the picture.
And that's like all he cares about. Like he doesn't want to
Yeah.
lead lots of people. He just wants to protect like his own, basically. And so it's like, like you're okay, dude. Like I don't want to work for you. Like give me someone that wants to rule, kind of thing. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it. So
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Uh-oh, I think Jake cut out. Well, Jake cut out for just a second. We'll give him a minute to come back. But yeah, that's a great point that he just made. Again, about the Darksaber being an internal struggle, um, and that's kind of why there's a problem finding that balance. Okay, I think he's back. All right, we good?
okay, yeah, but yeah, I think it's like a balance thing, and like it's just such a powerful weapon. It needs to be wielded by a ruler, almost, kind of thing. I don't know. We'll find out, but something like that's got to be going on. But yeah, I thought it was cool. I thought it was a whole cool scene. I enjoyed seeing her kick butt with it, and finally someone is using it really well in the series. So at least we get that. I'm hoping like because I don't know if people would be upset with this. I wouldn't. I think it'd be a great thing. I would much rather see her train Din Djarin into using it, than rather like her wield it. Listen, I'm thinking maybe some love kind of bubbles to the surface through their training. I'm thinking she starts realizing how good of a man he is and like how much he wants to protect his own, which, like you said, he's been alone his whole life. So basically his own is Grogu. Like he, as much as he wants to be part of Children of the Watch, like he doesn't feel like he belongs there, if that makes any sense. He's still an outsider to them. They all still don't really like him. So he's and even in, I think, season 1, right? A clan of 2. She even says you're a clan of 2, which is like, dude, you're really not like part of our clan. I'll give you this little clan thing. You guys can be a clan of 2. So I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
What do you think of? I'll throw out this little theory, and then we'll keep going. We'll follow our story into like the mines, where they go to the mines. But what do you think about? We're probably going to see Sabine at some point. What do you think about her teaching Din Djarin to use the Darksaber?
I want to see Bo do it because I'm shipping them. So I don't even need Sabine in here. Yeah.
Well, you know the reason why I say that, right?
Yes, because she got taught by what's his face in
by Kanan.
By Kanan.
And it was a big deal too. Like it was like a whole episode that was basically a training session, like one big training session. And I mean, I think that's a really solid episode in Rebels too. And I feel like Filoni would do something like that. You know what I mean? Kind of make it come full circle where it's like, that character Sabine has really advanced, with her fighting techniques and stuff, and then like can kind of share that to someone else. So
yeah, I just think it would be a little weird for her to come in just because we haven't heard her name at all through 3 seasons, and he's met Bo, and still no mention of her really. Oh wait, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think they mentioned her. I was gonna say maybe what's her face does the Rosario Dawson. Gosh, how am I missing her name?
Ahsoka. She hasn't mentioned Sabine yet.
She just mentioned Thrawn, right? That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. So But yeah, I just think it'd be a little weird because she hasn't been mentioned, and I feel like she would be running a clan of some sorts, and we haven't seen her. So I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. I want to see Bo and Mando together for the
Yeah.
next 5-6 episodes, however long we got them. So
Yeah, me too. Hopefully, I mean, I would really like her to be in like the entire season.
yeah,
So we'll see.
I'll ask you a question too at the end, see what you think. But
Okay.
yeah,
All right. So now, Bo-Katan leads them to the living waters, and um, it in some ways the episode I felt like it was a little bit slow at times, um, but at the same time, like we got through so much. You know what I mean? Like I I don't know if I expected them to go to Mandalore and to make it to the living waters in one episode. So I'm glad that they did, and I feel like we're really starting to um, ramp up here in our season and our story. The other thing I'll say too is at this point we've seen almost everything from the trailers, so it's like there's a lot of stuff um, that we just have like no idea, which is really awesome, and I think it speaks volumes to to them putting out solid trailers. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because
There's a couple of
there's still so much mystery for what we have to see next. But yeah, so anyway, she takes them to the living waters, and I thought this was a great scene. Din Djarin, he's committed and he's devoted, um, to the children of the Watch, to like his particular way of walking the way of the Mandalore, and so there's pretty much no hesitation. He like starts to take those steps into the water, and he starts calling out um the Kree or the Creed, and then he gets pulled under the water all of a sudden, and Bo-Katan jumps in there to rescue him. This is an awesome scene. um it looks awesome, and it was just super cool. But yeah, we get to see the mythosaur, and I mean this is huge, honestly. And I'm really excited to hear your theories. And again, I'll say it, for our audience, whether it's live or on the replay, let us know in the comments like your guys' theories. We definitely want to hear about them, and we'll respond to your comments in the chat. So let us know. But yeah, Jake, we finally get to see the mythosaur, which is the creature where the Mandalorians first got their initial emblem from. And like it's like such a huge part of their origin story. um you know and Bo-Katan even talked a little bit about it. It was talked about by Quill in season 1, the Ugnaught. Said when he's teaching Din Djarin how to ride the whatever that one little creature is.
yeah. I
He
call them
tells him,
squatties. Yeah,
yeah, he's like, you can do this, like your ancestors rode the great mythosaur.
yeah.
um and yeah, it was awesome to see, dude. What do you think about this?
Yeah, super interesting. I mean, I'm gonna rewind just a little bit.
Sure,
If
if
I,
I missed anything, I apologize, but yeah, go for it.
so I was gonna touch on this, but anyways, and I kind of did it earlier when I said when she first flies in, she's kind of surprised it's still there. It's kind of like she's getting her faith back, Bo-Katan, a little bit, and
Yes.
she just wants to leave after she saves Din, and Din's like, no, like I'm going to the waters, and so she's like, fine, like I'll show you the way, and it's almost like she's a little bit curious, and she's starting to like believe and kind of like see what the traditions are. Like she's kind of buying back into it. Like, oh, okay, let's go to the waters. Let's see if they're really there. Let's like whatever you want to do. Sure, man. Like I'm kind of curious. Like I'll follow you down there and see what happens. And so she takes him there. And on the way there, she talks about her dad dying
Hmm.
in the Civil War, I think it was, between the Mandalorians. And it was really, this is what I'm saying. I'm shipping them completely because Din, how he says, this is the way to her.
That was
His
great.
voice, his voice kind of like breaks a little bit when he says it. Like, this is the way, like, he feels like the pain because he's
Yeah, this
also
is
had
after she says that he sounds like a special person or something like that, and she says he was a great man.
yeah,
And that's when he says this is the way.
yeah, she was, yeah. And she's telling him like he was looking at her proudly, probably with like false pride when she was doing all of her rituals and stuff. And Din's like, oh no, he probably was really proud of you. And so like he kind of, it's almost like he was sad he never had that like with his parents, but he also gets like her loss with her dad and like how painful that might have been. So 100% shipping them. That's gonna happen. I'm gonna say it several more times like throughout this episode because there's another scene right when they get there, and she kind of she gives Din this look, and you could take it in two different ways. But I took it like when they first get to the waters and he's taking off his stuff and he starts reciting his oath or whatever. She kind of looks at him like and almost admires him a little bit.
Right, I caught that too. Yeah.
Where she's like, okay, like this, I like this guy. Like I can get behind this guy. Like I understand why he's doing this. Like he's really like loyal, and kind of
because. Oh, sorry to cut you off. I was just gonna say because it's like it's not her way. It's like it's not how she views the way of the Mandalore and like the way that she would walk, but like his devotion, it's there. Like it's so plain to see. Like he's so locked in and devoted, and I think that speaks volumes to her.
Yeah, so I thought, again, little shipping them. I think that she might be like, all right, like this guy's pretty cool.
Like, okay,
I could get behind that. So, but yeah, I just thought all those scenes were cool. And then I'll point out like that little scene when he's getting into the water. I talked to you a little bit about it before. I might have mentioned it even in this episode, but he's getting in and he's saying those words about, like my name, whatever, it's going to be forged as in my heart is iron. Like, I'm not going to take off this helmet. And right when he says, I'm not going to take off this helmet, he gets grabbed. And I was saying, I think that's kind of like the Force's way of telling him. And like, we've seen it before in episode 1, when they're doing that whole ceremony, it gets interrupted at that moment too by a massive creature.
Yeah, I really like your theory with this too. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I feel like it's almost like the Force working its way through the universe and telling him like this isn't really the way. Like you probably shouldn't be doing this, and especially since it was the Mythosaur that interrupted this time, it was like no, like you should probably change your ways. Like that's not how we want to like operate with the Children of the Watch. Like that's not what you should be doing. So I think just. There has to be something there because we've gotten 2 episodes, 2 of the same scenes in each of these episodes at the same time. Hey there.
Something animated. Hello. I think this is a first time viewer.
Heck yeah, man.
Drop a comment. Good to have you here. Hopefully it won't be the last. And if you saw this episode, I mean, hopefully that's why you're here. If you saw this episode, have any thoughts, have any theories, let us know in the comments. We definitely want to hear. And thanks again for showing up.
Heck yeah. So he gets pulled down. And okay, again, I'm shipping them. I'm going to say it again. Bo she does not hesitate 1 iota and just dives in after him. Like, wants to save him. Like there's got to be some flame.
She's trying to be Grogu's mom.
She's trying her hardest.
She's trying to be Grogu's mom right now.
Something's going on. But so she does, and she goes down and she finds him and starts shooting off. And like you said, I think she's the only one that sees the Mythosaur. I think that Din is out at this point. I'm sure he had some ideas, like obviously that something dragged him down there, but I don't think he saw the Mythosaur. And she's the only one that sees it, and she lets out like a gasp, like you see air bubbles come out from her helmet when she realizes what that thing is. And it's almost like, I want to say it's showing rebirth of the planet and the Mandalore people because they thought it was like extinct or whatever. And so she's seeing it, and that's what first brought the people together. And so it's almost like a rebirth of the planet. And so she's like, oh my God, like this thing's real, like it's here. And it was like a sign to her. So she had all this doubt. And throughout this episode, we see her kind of coming closer and closer and closer to this conclusion that it's not all myth. Like, this is really like, there is a way, and her people should be reunited at this point. Like, it's time to like come out of the shadow almost.
This is like Bo-Katan's spiritual awakening, I think. I think you could call it. You know what I mean? I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah, 100%. So I don't know if you felt the same way, but I was like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
But it scares me a little bit. I think she can take it either one of two ways, and these are obvious ways. She's going to be like, Din's the guy, I want to help him, or she's going to think, holy bejeebus, everything's real. I need that Darksaber, and I need to lead my people, and she might betray him. I don't know which way they're going to take it. I could see it being like almost like a love thing that happens between them, and she knows that she has to beat him, and he is fine with her beating him, but she doesn't want to because she knows that he's going to just let her win. And it's going to be like this, it's going to ruin their relationship basically, because they're both going to care too much about each other to like mess it up. I don't know what's going to happen, but
yeah. And I feel like my view has changed a little bit from last time too, because I was really kind of convinced that there's going to be this conflict, and that but I mean, maybe my view hasn't changed all that much. I could kind of see there not being any more conflict going forward now because of this episode, and because, you know, a lot of the points that you made, her kind of like opening up more, and kind of being inspired by Din's devotion. I could see going forward, maybe there wouldn't be much of a conflict anymore. But I think no matter what, even if there is for a time, I still believe, like what I said, I still think that they have to find common ground in the end, because even though Bo-Katan's character, like, if we're being consistent with her character, like I mentioned, she is like more rough on the outside, and she isn't like your common, like, or average protagonist. But her intentions to lead Mandalore are pure. You know what I mean?
That's what I don't know. You know, like, I don't know how they're gonna, because she would be such a great leader. Possibly she's a little hard-headed. I think Din's maybe a little bit more hard-headed than her, but that's just because he's, I just want to say, like, doesn't have enough experience. Like, he grew up just with that one clan, and like that's what he believes, and he doesn't really run into too many other Mandalorians because he's always so surprised when he sees another one. He's like, oh my gosh, like another Mandalorian. So I just don't know if he hasn't had his eyes open yet. But yeah, she's like, her will is so strong to lead, I think, after this episode, that it terrifies me to think that she's gonna like try to betray him, try to fight him. Like, is it gonna work out? Like, I don't know. Maybe
I kept thinking for this whole episode that she was going to, like we turn another corner, like, okay, is this it? Like, is she about to attack him or something? Like, is this it? And never does.
Yeah, but she didn't really have faith before. Now she has like faith that she, like, Mandalore is like ready. It's like, let's go. Like, let's get our people together. She saw the mythosaur. She's like, okay, you know, like, I'm totally ready to jump back in, because like I mentioned before, she had a completely different outlook, you know, before season 2 ended to this season. And so I don't know if she's going to revert back to that and be like, yeah, I'm going to kill anyone I have to like rule Mandalore and bring my people together.
And now I think we should touch on it too, again, getting back to the mythosaur and like the importance. And I don't know, I think this is kind of stemming a little bit more from Legends, but we still know, like, even in new canon, like, it's the mythosaur is very important to their culture. And so I'm kind of the mindset that, like, the mythosaur is almost just as crucial to leading the people as the Darksaber.
Yes, 100%.
And if she can tame the mythosaur, like, that might be like just as big, you know. That might be like just as important for her to like lead her people and like to have followers. I think we lost Jake again for a second, so sorry about that, guys. That is the downsides. It's kind of the way things go when two buddies are trying to do a podcast from opposite ends of the world, but we work through it. He's back. All right.
Am I back? Okay.
You're back.
Sometimes when I close my camera and mute and then come back, it like did that time. Thank God.
Yeah, but I was just saying, I think that could be really crucial for her leading her people, and like other people see that, and she'll be able to have people follow her again.
Okay. So I have
and
this is an order.
This is basically our breakdown. Now we're kind of just going into our theories, going forward, and
yeah. So a question I'm going to ask you, because we're just talking about. I'm going to ask you this question first. I was going to ask you it earlier, but I've seen a few people talk about Din Djarin probably dying this season. Do you think that's a possibility? We do have Mama Mando coming in. He could sacrifice himself for both of them, and that's how she gets the Darksaber. He gives it to her and says, "Go," kind of thing, or maybe he doesn't die. But I've heard that been discussed, and I'll ask you a follow-up question after that.
I think it's more unlikely, but I would say maybe I would give it as much as like a 20% chance.
That's pretty high.
I think that is still fairly high, actually.
Yeah.
And the only reason I give it that much is because, even though up until this point it's been Din Djarin's story, again, you only really know this if you've watched Clone Wars and Rebels, but in my opinion, the Mandalorian is Bo-Katan, in my opinion. And, you guys only know this if you've seen Clone Wars, if you've seen Rebels, and if you're Dave Filoni, who's created these characters. Like, yeah, she's the one. She's the rightful ruler. So I could kind of see it happening, and I think it could still make sense. I don't think everyone would appreciate it as much, but I think there's a proper way that you could execute it.
Yeah, I give you. I would say same thing. Probably like right now, like a 20% chance. But it's going to increase him dying is if him and Bo-Katan start falling in love. It never ends well with people that fall in love in Star Wars. I'll tell you that right now, folks. Okay, they always die. At least one of them. Sometimes both. So we're gonna see what happens, or they just don't end up together, aka Obi-Wan and the older sister, Satine.
Well, she died. She died.
She died too, but like they were in love for so long, and they just couldn't be together. So usually that's how it works in Star Wars. Is like love just never works out in the universe. I mean, we saw Han Solo in the Solo movie fall in love, and guess what? He couldn't be with his girl at the end of the movie. So I think that goes up exponentially if like that starts happening. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if he's gonna die. I'm terrified. But my follow-up question is, if he does die, and it's so hard because I don't think they're gonna do this just based off like the timeline of things and how things are working.
You got to have Grogu crying, and you got to have him crying, like in that scene when he dies. You know what I'm saying?
Gosh. Dude, especially if like Bo-Katan and him start falling in love, and she's gonna like not want to leave him, and then Baby Yoda's gonna try to save him. Maybe he saves him magically at the end, and Force does something and like stops rocks from falling on him. I don't know. Maybe
Grogu does have healing powers. Remember?
Does he? Oh yeah, he does. Yeah, he heals
Cara Dune.
He also did he heal Cara Dune, and then didn't he also heal the High Magistrate? I thought he healed the High Magistrate.
I can't even remember if it was Cara Dune. But he healed Grief Karga. That's who it was.
But yeah, so then follow-up question. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you think that Baby Yoda is gonna be like the ruler of Mandalore? We talked about this for so long, almost like for ever since the series started in second series season, like that he's a Mandalorian, or in Book of Boba Fett we really talked about this, that he's like Mandalorian, but he's also a Jedi, where like he is Vizsla, where he's like
Tar
kind of
Vizsla,
a
yeah.
yeah, he's kind of like a Jedi Mandalorian because he has like the ability to like use the Force in a way to wield the dark saber, because that's kind of what it is. Like you have to have like peace and serenity with yourself.
I don't know
Um,
that he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna wield the dark saber. I don't think the dark saber is gonna go to Grogu, and I don't necessarily think that he's going to rule Mandalore. But I think he's gonna help. Whoever does, most likely Bo-Katan. And what I am 99% sure of is that he will be in the end both Mandalorian and Jedi.
okay, because the only reason why I said that is we were talking about the Mythosaur before. Okay, we've already seen him have connection with other beings. In Book of Boba Fett, he
Mm,
totally does the whole Rancor thing, right?
yeah,
Maybe he does that to the Mythosaur. Like it sounds like such a stupid, obvious thing where like he's the one that tames it, but maybe Din Djarin's getting jacked up or Bo, and he's like, I gotta save one of my parents here. Like I need to do this, and they're like, okay, and then maybe they're both like, okay, maybe we just need you to lead, like little baby. But I don't know how they're gonna do that if he's a baby. You know what I mean? But it sounds
yeah,
like it seems like the obvious kind of thing out there. You know what I mean? I don't know.
yeah. I don't see it. I don't see Grogu completely stealing the show. You know what I mean? Like Grogu, Baby Yoda has stolen, I think, everyone's hearts, right? Like the audience, he's stolen everyone's hearts.
Yeah.
And that's why this show is not even just for Star Wars fans. Like people that didn't watch Star Wars before, they watched the show because they fell in love with Grogu. Um, but
Ridiculous.
but he serves a purpose to like really complement and elevate everyone else. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I don't think that Grogu will ever like fully like be like the main, who's in the main spotlight. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe I don't know, man. Maybe he does tame it. Din Djarin dies in that scene, and he tames it, and then Bo-Katan understands how special Grogu is, and it's like I gotta protect him. And maybe Bo-Katan's gonna be the new Mandalorian protecting Grogu because she knows that he's not old enough to lead, but she knows that he's like the one person that's been on both sides. Is
Hmm.
Jedi, Mandalorian, um, and he has like the power to lead if he really wanted to, which would be interesting. I don't know, play it out for a couple more seasons and have her be the new Mandalorian. I don't know.
And I think that kind of goes back to maybe it was kind of a hint too. When she told him that, like that's kind of a little bit of a hint to us as well for like where things are going, like foreshadowing where things are going, about her saying that the Mandalorians and the Jedi worked together and they fought alongside each other. And I think so much of this show is about kind of finding like the path in which our characters are going to walk. And so like for Din Djarin, it's like, who am I, like as a Mandalorian? And for Grogu, I think it's like, who do I want to become? Is it a Mandalorian? Is it a Jedi? Or is it both? You know, that's how I feel.
Yeah, I think it's weird. I think they could take it in so many different directions. I am super excited to see what happens. Obviously, I don't think we're gonna get a leader by the end of the season, but that's just me thinking logically with how they're going to, like, if they want to do another season or not. But I don't know. Maybe they do unite some of the clans, and then it's another civil war that has to happen, which is totally likely, because I guarantee you, once someone says I'm the leader of Mandalore and has a Darksaber, there's going to be some factions that say, some clans that say like, no, I'm not buying that, and I don't care, and want to take that person out. So there's always going to be, I think, war between Mandalorians, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think we could probably start to wrap things up here. I think this episode was terrific. I can't wait to watch it again, honestly. What would you give like your rating, 1 out of 10? 10?
Yes.
Yeah.
This got me excited. I haven't been excited for a show like this in a while. Like, now I'm invested. The first episode sucked. I did not appreciate that at all. This episode, I'm like, give me more of that. Like, please.
No. All right. We gotta give Jake just another minute. It's funny, the buffering starts to kick in. Okay, here we go.
Is it working?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't even know what I was saying anymore.
Oh, just that you're invested.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, the first one sucked. This one's phenomenal. They could take it in so many different ways. I'm completely shipping Din and Bo. You know.
What other episode would you say is a 10 out of 10 for you in the Mandalorian series? If this is a 10 out of 10, would it be last episode, season 2?
Yeah, I'd give this one a 9.5.
Okay.
I can't give anything a 10. I would say it's a 9.5. It pretty much had everything that I want from it. It moved the plot forward. It gave us such character growth, I think, on Bo-Katan's part and Din Djarin's part. He's going to figure that out later. I think she's going to have to talk him down out of the watch. But I don't know. And we got to see Baby Yoda do his thing, go on his own little adventure and force push a bunch of things. And hopefully he can start force crushing something.
He did a little Yoda jump.
He did the Yoda jump, yeah.
Like a super jump. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was great. Intense, spooky, and I don't know, man. I don't know what other episode I would say I would compare it to, except for, maybe episode 16. Chapter 16, I should say. Which is the ending of last season, but
yeah,
I'm sure there's one out there, but this was a great one.
Yeah, I agree. I'd probably give it a 9 as well. Looking forward to watching it again for sure.
And it just felt like new Star Wars, if that makes sense. Like new creatures
on
Mandalore. You know what I mean? It just felt fresh to me, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it felt like original Star Wars, but it felt like new Star Wars at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think that's something, again, like Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, they figure out the formula when it comes to this show. You know what I mean? Because I think, and we won't get into it now, but maybe another time, but like Disney, they've had a tough time trying to capture that magic, because they tried to do it with, the sequel trilogy, and they gave it a shot, right? Not their best shot, but they gave it a shot.
Fun theory about the next prequel that's coming out. I'll tell you if you want to know.
Yeah, but I was just gonna just finish by saying, like, I think John and Dave, like, they've just been able to find that balance, and they're able to have the nostalgia, like capture like the essence of the original trilogy, but still like push the story forward and still like find ways to make things new and fresh.
Yeah, I mean, Filoni's been working on Star Wars for such a long time, and Jon Favreau is such a creative person and good storyteller. I mean, he brought us Iron Man 1 and multiple other films, but without Iron Man 1 being so successful and being like so well told and everything, we would not have the MCU. So
Yeah.
I think that they both kind of reinvigorated two different franchises, and now they're together. Filoni, dude, gave us so many new things too in a Clone Wars that we've never seen before. So he's like totally into the Star Wars universe and kind of vibes with it enough to give us some new things that fit as well, that don't feel out of place. So
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it's a perfect combination. If they could just like do this for the next 3 movies that they come out with, and just hire John and Filoni, you know.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like we could even talk about that like more in another episode, but like he gave us like the Mandalorian culture again. He gave us Darth Maul again. He gave us Ahsoka. Um, he like he gave us so much. Honestly,
So
he gave
much.
us he brought back Thrawn, who's you know he's always been like an incredible villain. Now he's going to be in canon again. So yeah,
Oh yeah, I don't know what else to say. He knows how to work it. He knows it so well. That it's him and John together. It's phenomenal. And I don't know if Bryce Dallas Howard's doing anything this season. I haven't looked, but
I hope
she's really
so.
good too. Yeah, she does some of my favorite episodes of Mandalorian. So
Me too. Did you have like one last thing before we head out?
oh, I was just gonna say, I hope they do this in like the next 3 movies where Rey is actually like just possessed by Palpatine at this point. I've heard that theory like floating around for so long. Um, I've never told you it, but I thought it was really interesting because you kind of just brought them. Because he says like, if you kill me, if you strike me down, like I'm just gonna be part of you. And so at the end, she kills him, and so now like his spirit is in her, and like she calls herself Skywalker because she doesn't want anyone else to know that she's a Palpatine, because literally inside there is a Palpatine now, and he's kind of like manipulating her to. I don't know. I'm just hoping that she's evil. I can't handle good Rey anymore. Just
I'd be down if
yeah.
we really have to like kind of have more from the sequel. Like, I mean, again, like I like Daisy Ridley. Like, it's not her fault. She's a good actress, and she a lot of what she did, I think she did pretty well. But yeah, I would be down to see her as a dark side Ray.
With those like dual lightsabers again, like she had, and
Yeah, that's
like
cool.
kind of
That's cool.
foreshadowing literally what she was going to be, and she couldn't escape it because at the end, like that's who she was, and now that's
Right.
like who she is, and so just something like that would be super cool. I don't know who or what how they're going to do it, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out, folks.
For sure. For sure. All right. Well, it was a great episode, bro. Thanks so much as always. And thanks to everyone who tuned in. And again, if you're watching on the replay, don't forget to leave a like, leave a comment. What do we have next? Oh, one more reminder, guys, go check out that last episode um, from Tuesday. It's a shorter episode. And again, I break down the factions, some of like the really crucial factions, and you'll really benefit. Like you're gonna watch that or listen to it on the podcast feed, and there's some big things to take away, and you're gonna appreciate what's going on in Mandalorian season 3 more, because we touch on Death Watch, I touch on the Shadow Collective, and I touch on the Children of the Watch, and all of those are kind of playing a part, even in small ways, but they all play a part here for us going forward. So check out that video. I'm gonna have a few more shorter videos and a few lost episodes uh, from,
No.
from me and Jake. So we'll have some other episodes that will premiere live, even though they were pre-taped. And then, of course, we'll continue on with our regular time of Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific for our Mandalorian breakdown. All right. Any last thoughts, Jake?
Go check out Bad Batch. It's starting to ramp up, and I think there's some crazy stuff they're doing that I'm excited to see. I don't know how it's going to work out, but I think you'll enjoy the next episode if you haven't seen it, Don.
All
So
right, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna go watch that right now, actually.
perfect.
All right, guys, we will catch you in the next one.